Across the corridors of time, humanity has always tried to chart its place in the world. Maps are more than simple drawings of land and sea. They are mirrors of power, belief, and hidden knowledge. Yet scattered through history are fragments of maps so mysterious, so far ahead of their time, that they seem to whisper of civilizations long forgotten. Were ancient peoples privy to secrets of the earth we have only recently uncovered, or perhaps lost knowledge from a vanished age? Let's find out. In the dusty shadows of ancient temples and long-forgotten libraries, a handful of cartographers dared to transcribe the earth in ways their societies could barely comprehend. To most of the ancient world, the earth was a flat plain, surrounded by oceans or ringed by divine fire. Yet there were whispers of maps that hinted at something more, an understanding of the globe as a sphere, of continents beyond the horizon, of lands untouched by the civilizations we know. These forbidden cartographers often lived at the intersection of myth and science. They studied trade winds, the paths of migrating birds, and the secret knowledge of seafarers. Some say they gathered whispers from Phoenician sailors who had circled Africa, or from explorers who crossed oceans centuries before Columbus. Their maps were often hidden, copied in secret, because to suggest lands beyond the known world was to question the very order of heaven and earth. Legends tell of maps smuggled across borders, rolled into scrolls and locked in stone vaults, and passed like contraband between scholars in Alexandria, Baghdad, and Constantinople. Were these merely speculative doodles, or did they record journeys that history has chosen to forget? The tantalizing truth may be buried beneath the sands of time, waiting for us to rediscover the forbidden geographies of the ancients. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis unveiled a map that would shock the world centuries later. Drawn on gazelle skin parchment, the Piri Reis map is an exquisite patchwork of knowledge: Europe, Africa, and the Americas, rendered with uncanny accuracy. But it is the southern reaches of the map that ignite controversy. A depiction of Antarctica, not only before it was officially discovered, but apparently without its mile-thick cover of ice. How could a sailor of the 16th century have access to such knowledge? Piri Reis himself admitted he compiled his chart from 20 older maps, some dating back to the age of Alexander the Great. Did he inherit fragments of a forgotten maritime tradition, passed down from navigators who roamed the globe in prehistory? Skeptics argue the outlines are coincidence, the product of copying errors and imaginative guesses. But satellite surveys in the 20th century revealed a shocking alignment between Piri Reis's Antarctica and the landmass hidden beneath the ice. Could this be evidence of an advanced civilization that mapped the world tens of thousands of years ago, before the last great ice age buried it in frozen silence? Or does it point to a chain of knowledge, Egyptian, Greek, Islamic, preserved from an age we no longer remember? Long before the Ottomans, before even the Greeks, the Babylonians were etching their understanding of the cosmos into clay. At first glance, these tablets seem primitive: circles, lines, and wedges pressed into wet earth. But beneath their simple geometry lies astonishing sophistication. The Babylonians mapped not only their rivers and fields, but also the heavens themselves, charting the motions of planets with mathematical precision. One tablet, often called the Babylonian World Map, depicts a flat earth encircled by water. At its edges lie mysterious regions labeled beyond the sea, where monstrous beings in unknown lands dwell. To the Babylonians, maps were not just about geography, but cosmology, an attempt to place mankind at the center of a divine order. Yet their astronomical records tell a different story, one of careful observation, geometry, and predictive calculation. They tracked Jupiter across the sky with methods we once thought belonged to the Greeks alone. Were the Babylonians merely gazing upward, or did they see patterns in the heavens that suggested the shape of the earth itself? Could their fusion of myth and science hold clues to a deeper, lost knowledge of our planet's geography? These clay fragments may be small, but they hint at a civilization reaching far beyond its horizon, attempting to draw the entire cosmos onto a fragile tablet of earth. In a palace hall in Beijing lies a map that defies the limits of its age. Created in 1389 during the Ming Dynasty, the Deming Hun Yi Tu amalgamated map of the Ming Empire stretches nearly 4 meters across silk. Unlike the fragmented and symbolic maps of Europe at the same time, this Chinese masterpiece presents an astonishingly accurate view of the world. Africa with its curving coasts, Arabia jutting into the seas, and even hints of lands far across the oceans. How did the Ming acquire such knowledge centuries before European global exploration? Some scholars argue it came from the Mongol Empire, whose vast network stretched from Korea to Persia, funneling information across continents. Others whisper of the legendary voyages of Admiral Zheng He, whose massive fleets may have sailed farther than the Indian Ocean, perhaps even skirting the coasts of Africa long before Europeans rounded the Cape. But the Da Ming Hun Yi too contains even stranger details, hints of distant lands across the seas, far beyond China's reach. Were these symbolic representations or echoes of reports from traders who ventured farther than history records? The map suggests a vision of the world not as a fragmented mystery, but as a connected whole. If true, the Ming court possessed knowledge that could rewrite the story of global exploration. When European sailors began to brave the Atlantic in the late Middle Ages, they carried with them maps unlike any before. The Portolan charts, first appearing in the 13th century, these charts depict coastlines with astonishing accuracy, as if traced from the air. Every inlet, every cape, every bay is laid out with a precision far beyond the crude sketches of medieval Europe. But the mystery runs deeper. No one truly knows where these charts came from. They appear suddenly, fully formed, without any evolutionary predecessors. Some scholars believe they were copied from ancient sources, knowledge preserved through seafarers who had mastered the oceans long before Columbus. The charts themselves are filled with compass roses, radiating lines that allowed navigators to plot courses with uncanny skill. Even more perplexing is their scope. Some Portolan charts hint at knowledge of coasts far outside Europe's known world, as if their makers had inherited fragments of a global map. Could these be relics of a Sea King civilization master mariners who charted the oceans in an age long forgotten? Or are they simply evidence of a lost European school of navigation that has left no trace in the historical record? Each faded line whispers of journeys unrecorded, of ships that may have crossed oceans centuries before history admits. Far from the Mediterranean, in the temples and scrolls of ancient India, we encounter a different kind of map, one not of rivers and mountains, but of time, space, and the cosmos itself. Hindu cosmology describes the universe in cycles of creation and destruction, stretching across billions of years, a timescale eerily close to modern astrophysics. Their sacred texts speak of continents arranged in concentric circles, of Mount Meru rising at the center, and of oceans that span not only Earth but the entire universe. At first glance, these may seem like mythic allegories, not maps in the traditional sense. Yet, hidden within the allegory are patterns that suggest a profound attempt to describe the structure of reality itself. Ancient Indian astronomers tracked eclipses, planetary motions, and the precession of the equinoxes with extraordinary accuracy. Some even argue that the great epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, contain descriptions of vast geographies, with references to lands and peoples far outside the Indian subcontinent. Were these cosmic maps a symbolic way to encode scientific truths? Could they be fragments of a worldview that once united the heavens and the earth in a single cartographic vision? India's maps may not show coastlines and capes, but they chart something far deeper, the coordinates of humanity and the endless dance of time and space. In the heart of Alexandria once stood a temple of knowledge unrivaled in the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria was said to house hundreds of thousands of scrolls, works of philosophy, science, and medicine, and perhaps maps that could have changed our understanding of the earth forever. Travelers returning from distant lands were compelled to surrender their charts and journals, which were copied and stored in the library's vaults. What became of these treasures? Legends speak of maps charting lands across the Atlantic, coastlines of Africa drawn with uncanny accuracy, and even knowledge of the polar regions. When the library burned, whether by accident, neglect, or deliberate destruction, those maps may have perished. Or perhaps they were spirited away, hidden in secret archives in Constantinople, Baghdad, or Rome. The loss is immeasurable. Did those vanished scrolls preserve the knowledge of ancient mariners who circled the globe? Did they hold cartographies inherited from civilizations erased by flood or fire? The silence of Alexandria's ashes leaves us only with tantalizing fragments, enough to wonder what our history might look like if those maps had survived. Among all the mysteries of lost maps, none haunts the imagination more than Atlantis. Plato described it as a great island empire, advanced beyond its time, destroyed in a single day and night of catastrophe. To most scholars, Atlantis is a myth, a parable of hubris and divine retribution, but scattered hints in ancient maps keep the legend alive. Some early charts show islands in the mid-Atlantic that no longer exist, sketched with too much detail to be mere invention. Could these be memories of lands swallowed by the sea, or misinterpretations of distant voyages? Enthusiasts argue that the Piri-Reis map, the Portolan charts, even fragments from the Alexandrian library, may all preserve echoes of an Atlantean cartography, a global knowledge that survived in fragments after the Great Flood. Whether myth or memory, Atlantis represents the ultimate lost map, a vision of a forgotten age when humanity may have known more of the world than we dare to believe. If true, then buried beneath the oceans and the ruins of history lie the blueprints of a civilization that once charted the earth in its entirety, only to vanish into legend. From Babylonian clay to Ottoman parchment, from Chinese silk to Indian scripture, the maps of antiquity whisper of worlds half-remembered and knowledge long obscured. They challenge us to question the neat boundaries of recorded history and to wonder what secrets still lie hidden in the shadows of time. Could it be that humanity has mapped the earth more than once? If you're as fascinated by these mysteries as I am, subscribe and share your thoughts below, because history's greatest secrets may still be waiting to be redrawn.